firm in the world, was responsible for over $50 million of placements of executives, and was one of the top recruiters recognized nationally while serving in the United States Army. You'd probably say he's qualified. This is the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. Career competition is fierce. If you're a director, a VP, or an executive, this podcast is for you. This is the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. And this is your host, Tim Madden.
All right, let's get started today. How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing today? Hey, welcome to the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. If you don't know me, my name is Tim Madden, and I help those targeting six figures or multiple six figures find jobs they love quickly. So if that's you, I'm so glad you're tuning in today. Hey, we go live each week inside the Executive Career Network, which is the fastest growing career network on Facebook. I think we're up to, let me get a total number count real quick. We are up to 7,200 members. So if you would like to be a part of our community, I will post a link right now. If you're watching on Spotify or Apple or something like that, you can email me at tim@execupgrades.com. Unfortunately, though, I have some bad news. We're not streaming to Facebook today. The streaming software, Facebook just did an update. So I told everyone in the ECN to come watch over on LinkedIn today. So, hey, if you're watching on LinkedIn Live, let me know in the chat. And each week, hey, later on, this will be uploaded to everywhere on the internet, iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts, and we're streaming to YouTube. If you're tuning in from YouTube, let me know in the comments too. Hey, do me a favor. If you get any value of today, and I absolutely know you will, leave me a review over there on iTunes. We are a top 100 podcast in America for career advice. And I need your guys' help bringing me in the top 10. So, hey, if I give you anything of value today, in your career search, or possibly someone considering a career search and they need some interview help, this would be a vital one for them to listen to. And hey, you can also share this with a friend, tag someone in the comments. Maybe it's just what they need to hear to help them on their next interview, because that's what we're talking about today. Hey, congrats to everyone in the ECU, all of our clients inside of Executive Career Upgrades. We have fielded 34 offers this year already for our clients that were either six figures, a lot of them multiple six figures. And as always, before we get started in today's episode, if you feel that you need help in your career, right? Being held accountable, having a blueprint and a strategy and a team of professionals to help you, you can go over to execupgrades.com/podcast and book a free consultation with our team so that we can learn, hey, a little bit about you, a little bit about your career, what you're targeting, and if we can possibly help you. So I will pop that in the chat on LinkedIn as well. All right. Episode 27, Advanced Interview Tactics. Advanced Interview Tactics. Let me put up the on-screen agenda here. And there we go. Hey, if you're going on an interview soon, you're absolutely going to want to check out this episode. Well, check out previous episodes as well, because in previous episodes, I've talked about how to get your pitch right? What questions you have to ask on the interview, regardless, even if you're going after a CEO, SVP role, and how to lock down next steps. So if you're new to the ECU podcast, of course, let me know in the comments, but you definitely want to have a good foundation to build off of what we're going to talk about today. We know for sure there's only two reasons people hire people, mainly. The first reason is, they have a need. They need someone to accomplish something, lead a team. They have tasks that they need completed, right? And the other big reason is their business unit probably has challenges. Or maybe you're going after a COO role, an SVP role, and they have lots of challenges, right? So as I've said before, you want to spend most of your time while you're in this interview talking about what are they really looking for, what are their challenges, and how specifically that applies to you. Now, if you haven't read just a phenomenal book by John Maxwell, I'm going to recommend it here. I think I've said it on a previous podcast. I'm not sure. It's called Everyone Communicates. Few People Connect. And that's one of the biggest problems that you're having if you're going on interviews, not converting them to offers, is you are just communicating on these interviews and not truly connecting on what's important to them, what are truly their challenges, and presenting yourself in a position to help people. Because let's be honest, and let me know if in the chat, if you're watching on LinkedIn, if you go to a company and they're looking for a type of person and they're looking to solve similar whatever challenges, and you as the candidate, regardless of your level, know you can do that and do that effectively, can we all agree that you should be hired? Make sense? If they're looking for what you can do, if they have challenges that you can solve, if you should be hired. If you're not being hired, it is because absolutely how you're positioning yourself in this interview. And today I want to help you. So how we do this is you have to ask lots of questions. Okay? Follow me for what I mean. Most of the time, right, you need framework of when someone says they're looking for someone, maybe you ask a question like this, which we coach our clients on. We say something along the lines of, hey, what are the biggest priorities in your role that you're looking to accomplish? What are the 3 top priorities? Give me a brief overview of what you're really looking for, a variation of that question. And then what will happen is the person will tell you, right? We need training is on the forefront of our mind right now. Budgeting effectively, cost efficiency. I don't know what they're going to say. But most of the time, here's what happens. Number one, if you're asking that question, you're already in good shape because it's one of the only reasons you're on the interview. And number two, right, you need to take a step deeper. Remember I said most people are communicating on these interviews and not connecting. If I just simply ask a guy what he's looking for, right, in a professional sense, and he tells me, and I tell him that I have that background, we didn't really get into what he's actually looking for. Because can we agree that if someone says we're looking for training, someone to train our team, we don't just want to go into train like how we can train teams, etc. We want to say, hey, why did you say training first? Why is training most important to you right now? So essentially what I'm doing is I'm asking clarifying questions, right, on why that's important. Okay. And if you don't ask these clarifying questions, you're not going to know what's important from them inside of training. Can someone let me know in the comments and say they understand what I mean? They're not looking for someone to do training. They're probably looking for training programs to be developed. They want to figure out how they can score training, how they know training's effective, or something along those lines. Okay. But if you don't ask sometimes clarifying questions, you can't dig deeper into why that's important to them, what they're actually looking for because they said the word training. And it's the same thing when you go into the challenges that the business unit is having or the business. If they say some of the challenges are turnover, their current ad strategy, or whatever their problems are, they're losing money, you need to ask clarifying questions so that you totally understand what they're actually saying. Because we can all agree, if we ask them, they have a turnover problem, okay, can we all agree that the problem isn't turnover? The problem is something else. Just take a couple notes, right? The problem isn't turnover. The problem is probably what is causing this turnover in the first place. See how we're having a more effective conversation, actually connecting with people, because we're asking, well, what's currently going on with turnover? What have you already tried that hasn't worked? How is this impacting the business unit? How quickly do you want this solved? See how all of these questions are going to help me respond or have a further discussion with them, right, about how to actually solve this based on what I've done previously. And what I see too often is people find out what they're looking for, find out the challenges, and they immediately tell them how they can solve their problems without having a true general idea of the different layers moving down. So I wanted to hop on here today and just say, if you aren't clarifying what they actually are saying, so you're both 100% sure on the same page, if you're not asking these probing questions of, why now? Let me give you just a couple examples, right? A couple examples could be, hey, walk me through what you're currently doing now. Tell me more about turnover. Hey, can you share with me what you're doing now? Describe for me this, explain to me that, right? Like different probing questions to get them talking more about their solutions or what they're looking for. Clarifying questions could be something of, hey, can you walk me through the steps that led you to taking this action to try to prevent turnover, just because I'm curious of your, decision-making process. Clarifying question. Hey, if I could come in and actually solve this turnover problem for you based on what you've shared with me, right? How much money would that save the business unit? If I were to implement something new for this company, right? How would that affect this? How long has this been going on? Has it had an impact on this? In what way? How do you mean exactly? What do you think is causing this issue? What's causing this to happen? What's prompting you to look into this now? What's making this a priority now? Just giving you guys lots of potential clarifying questions, right? What originally led you to this decision? Can I ask why? Can you be more specific? What do you mean by that? Right? So you need to have these lists of some of these clarifying and probing questions, because they're only going to allow you to get to actually the root of what they're actually talking about. Because if you stay very surface level with these professionals, it's going to be really hard to get hired. Remember, it's not the best person. The best, most qualified person is not the one who gets hired. If you're taking notes from today, write that down. It's not the best person with the Harvard MBA, the Stanford bachelor's degree, or etc. It's going to be the person who best communicates, who can best communicate. What are they looking for? Let me ask a bunch more questions so that I truly understand what are their challenges. Let me ask them, what have they tried so far that hasn't worked? How has this impacted them? How long it's been, et cetera, et cetera. So I just have a really clear and better understanding so I can properly use my storytelling techniques, which, by the way, I posted in the chat. If you're listening on Apple, all I did was throw them the previous episodes where we dig into the other topics just a little bit more. But this is so vital that you understand this. If you don't know how to dig deeper into more than these surface level conversations, it's going to be very difficult to get you hired. Here's another thing. The more you move up the corporate ladder, it just becomes tremendously more important. And if you can't actually connect with these key leaders at these companies, you will not be hired regardless of your track record of success, where you went to school and what certifications you have. So to basically recap what we talked about today, we talked about clarifying, probing, so we could find out really what are we actually talking about, so that I can exactly respond to them to resolve their concerns after I've discussed their concerns and I truly understand them. And then we can start working towards actually helping them and branding ourselves through storytelling, how we've handled similar problems, who is involved, how we did it, and, mark out some, next steps in working together. Okay. So it's the same thing for, when you're dealing with objections and the salary. Most times what happens when people say, we just can't afford you. This isn't in our budget. Anyone ever have that before? Let me know in the comments. This just isn't in our budget. Most of you guys, ladies and gentlemen, don't handle this properly. You immediately go into, oh man, that sucks. Well, I guess I can't work here. Clarify, probe. Hey, what made you come up to that salary number? Just curious. Do you think that compensation structure is, the right amount for the problems that you want this person to solve? See how we could just ask more questions? Basis of today, ask more questions, more clarifying, more probing questions, so that you actually understand what's important to them, what they're looking for, what they're trying to achieve. Don't stay surface level, dig deep a little more. Hope this helps. Hey, so I missed a podcast last week. Anytime I'm committed to you, anytime I have a week where I'm at a training conference or missing something, I am doing 2 podcasts the following week. So we still will have one Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, streamed on LinkedIn, YouTube, and hopefully Facebook's up. And I think I'm going to have a special guest, so stay tuned. As always, hey, if you know you have problems interviewing, if you're not getting on the right interviews or you're getting to the interview process and you're not branding yourself correctly, you're not asking these questions, you don't really have a framework, I highly encourage you to book a call with us over at execupgrades.com/podcast so we can get you where you want to be so that you can get the job and money